Guys, welcome to another episode of Watch News Weekly. We got an exciting one today. For the first time, LVMH does a show, first big watch show of the year, if you think, down in Miami. We have a lot of Pateks being discontinued, and Piaget snuck in something. I don't even know how to describe it, but I guess we'll wait till we get to that topic. Let's start it off with LVMH Watch Week. We got Zenith, Hublot, Heuer, Bulgari showed up. Spoiler alert, the winner overall for me was Hublot by far.
I would actually, I think Hublot had a very, very strong showing.
Let's go to Zenith. And Zenith, I'm going to sum up with a couple of things. First of all, they brought back the triple calendar, which I thought that was actually great. This is dating back to the 1969, I believe.
Right. It's an older watch. I wouldn't say it's 1969. I think this design.
Well, the original triple calendar came out in 1969 from Zenith. That I know.
Did it? Wow. Okay. I mean, you learn something new every day. I didn't know this, but I know this has the new 1/100th of a second movement, right?
They did add that in there.
That's the main update. But yeah, this triple calendar, obviously you've seen this many times, triple calendar moon phase. You've seen this many times in the past. It was actually a pretty popular watch from Zenith in terms of like a watch enthusiast watch, right? Because it's like a crazy value triple calendar watch that you're getting also with a
Let's break it down and dumb it down. Triple calendar versus perpetual calendar versus annual calendar.
Sure. Annual calendar you're going to set one time a year when it's in February, so when it doesn't account for 31 days. A triple calendar will be 6 times per year, right? So once every other month because it doesn't account for the 31 day cycle, and then perpetual calendar runs continuously for 100 years.
Okay. So it's the lower end of a calendar.
Correct.
Let's call it that.
Yeah, it's the cheaper calendar, but it serves a purpose in the sense that it's still able to function.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the theme overall you're going to see with some of the brands that are quote unquote catching up to the big boys is green, right? Green is a new hot color. It has been for a couple of years now, and a lot of the brands are just now starting to catch up. Hence the triple calendar with the green strap and the green dial, as well as the one on the bracelet with the green dial. Personally, if I had to pick one out of all of this, I did like that grayish dial on a strap, but I think if I had to choose one, I'm going with the triple calendar green dial on a bracelet.
I just think you can't beat the Panda look. The Panda's a classic. It's just white and black subdials. I think.
Can't argue that either.
Aesthetically, it's the cleanest looking one, at least.
Let's go to the next slide. And next slide, we're going to talk about the Chronomaster, again, in, what do you know, it's in green. Again, here's your green Daytona in stainless steel.
Yeah.
Imagine if Rolex did this. Can you imagine the hysteria in the market?
So they could never do this. So what makes me a little confused is recently Zenith did a collaboration. I believe it was with Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
Which was a similar
predominantly green.
Right. It was a similar green Chronomaster.
Maybe it has some leftover parts.
I mean, it's just like, aren't you just cannibalizing those two releases? Like, why get the limited edition if you can now get the? Again, sometimes brands do things that just don't make sense, and this to me doesn't make sense.
And a lot of aesthetically, I'll tell you this. I love the green bezel. Take away everything else, and the reason for that is because first of all, you have the chronograph and the minute counters and second counters in 3 different colors. You have blue, gray, and light gray, I guess.
Yeah.
You have elements of red on the big chronograph hand. You have the white and black or gray markers. Or maybe that's just the pictures. Just too much going on here.
Yeah.
Like even the one on the strap really clashes. On the bracelet, it's not so bad, but make the entire dial green.
Yeah.
Give me just subtle white markers around the subdials. Give me, if you wanted to go green dial, green bezel, or just go green bezel.
Yeah, three different subdials plus the green plus a red tip second ten. It's too much color going on.
Let's go to the next one, and the next one from Zenith was the gem set, i.e., I call this one the Zenith Saru. Let's show the picture.
Saru.
Because that's a GMT Saru, is it not?
I mean, I see the where you're going.
It's black and blue rather than black and red.
Yeah,
or blue and red, I should say.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. But this is, I saw like an on the wrist picture, and it's such a good looking watch. This is probably one of the nice watches Zenith has ever made, and the gem setting is perfect. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And this is the one time where I'll say this, like, I'm not the biggest gem set fan. I'm just not a diamond watch guy.
I'm not a gem set fan either, to be fair.
But this is well done. It's very classy. It's very good looking.
I'm going to respectfully disagree. Again, I'm having trouble with the multicolor subdials. The dial itself, what is that?
It's meteorite, actually.
It is meteorite.
Yeah.
I don't think it comes that way naturally. I would imagine they painted it or something.
It's possible.
Oh, maybe it's possible, okay? But again, it's a case of where, like, I remember when there were a couple other releases they came out where they would take a watch and they would just jam pack everything that's popular in there, like skeleton, rainbow, and meteorite, and something else.
Frosted,
it's like, frosted. Oh, and frosted. Thank you. That was when the AP frosted rainbow double balance came out. It's just like, you know what? We came out with all these things. They work great. Let's just slap them all together. This gives me that feel. Again, what does Roman do to improve on this watch? Really not much. The minute you get rid of those subdials, those multicolor subdials, and you let the meteorite just simply be outlined by indents, by light markers, leave the diamond markers, I'm okay with that. It's just, it starts to take away, because when you're talking about a watch that's going to be predominantly, overwhelmed by gem setting, which is what it's meant to do, don't give me a dial that takes away from it. It's just
especially with a 430-day window. I think it's icing to the cake. At least they color match the date wheel, but at the end of the day, just get rid of that date. It just breaks up the dial even more. And I'm with you. I think it was a big miss.
Are you featuring a meteorite dial here, or are you featuring the multi-stone bezel? You have black diamonds, looks like sapphires.
I think you could do both,
diamonds.
but I think I agree with you. It's a miss with those multicolored subdials.
I think that's a miss across the other models, just the same.
Yeah.
The triple calendars. Let's go to the next slide. And we're going to go to Hublot, which in my mind is certainly a winner. And there were two watches that really stood out to me. One horological and one aesthetical. Obviously, from the horological aspect of things, it's going to be the Hublot MP10 Tourbillon. It's a weight energy system. It's got a circular power reserve. It's got a 35-degree inclined tourbillon and 2 linear weights for automatic winding, right? This took 5 years. People always saying, oh, Hublot this, and Hublot is a horology powerhouse. They take their time, they do their research and development. Sometimes they take years to come up with pieces like this. They made 50 of them, almost 600 total pieces. And everything about this watch tells me this is the future. It gives me the independent vibe without being an independent brand. Oh, I got one for you. Give me a watch that used the moving weights in order to wind the watch.
Well, there's
watch that did this.
Moving weights, I don't know of, but there's like the Breguet hammer gong system that's pretty famous. Michel Parmigiani recreated that in a pocket watch, and Moritz Grossman also has that now on a wristwatch. But
Harry Winston Glacier tourbillon.
Okay, fair enough.
They had those weights in front of the watch. They made it in rose gold and applied them. And when they would slide back and forth, and I remember we had a couple of those, and I was always afraid because like when those weights would slide, you could actually like feel them, like they're banging inside, like the watch is about to fall apart.
That's really the main concern, right? Which is why it would probably take 5 years of R&D, is controlling that moving mass, right? Because
they're heavy.
Well, it's not just that. The moving mass exerts energy, right? So whenever it exerts energy, it's controlling that power, right? And that will inevitably affect also the timekeeping of the watch. If too much energy is exerted or too little energy is exerted, then at that point you have an imbalance which affects the timekeeping. But yeah, this is
35-degree
really well
tourbillon. I mean, we've seen Grubel Forze do inclined tourbillons in the past. They've done it really, really well. These guys went to 35 degrees for some particular reason or other.
I assume it must have some kind of chronometrical,
Well, due to the design of the watch itself.
Maybe
even the way look at the way the time is displayed. I mean, it's kind of like a digital cylindrical display. I would call it. It's not technically digital, because digital you would see it in one window.
It's like a spiraling hours and minutes.
What I don't know is how those minutes and hours jump. If they actually jump, then it would be.
No, it will just like.
If it just moves.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not really a true digital display. Everything about it, I love A+ on that. Let's move to the next watch, and it's the green Unica. Okay, now green.
Yeah,
Everybody's jumping on the green bandwagon. Hefty retail, right? 116,000. But the whole thing, I read about this earlier, the whole thing they said was like, this is a very special green. They took them a while to get that green crystal to be that green color. If that's what that watch truly looks like in person, which I think it does, that is probably the best looking green crystal I've seen. It's better than that of Richard Milles.
Yeah.
It's better than anything that I've seen in green. And they've improved on the straps. I remember we got the very, very first crystal, Big Bang. In stock. It was a white one. And they did this rubber translucent strap that looked so bad and so cheap. They got away from translucent straps, and they really made that strap match the color. Aesthetically, I can't think of a better looking crystal watch.
It looks like an emerald on your wrist.
It literally does.
I think that's the goal, right? I think it's meant to look like a crystal emerald on your wrist, and I think they certainly achieved that. If that's what the color's going to look like from the rendering to in real life.
I mean, I can't wait to get my hands on one of these. Although, again, a hefty price for a chronograph, but again, a lot of R&D went into creating the perfect green crystal watch.
I mean, I don't know about getting hands on with it. That's a Roman buy. We'll keep that to the side for now.
Oh, that's terrible. You know what? I'm going to call Adrian right now, tell him I bought 2 of those. Let's go to the next slide. And we're going to talk about, again, they're still capitalizing on the relationship they have with Orlinsky, the artist, right? And I think that to date, they did a wonderful job with the following two in terms of price and in terms of, again, color. Color has been the theme, it seems like, and Hublot seems to be picking all the right colors. They have the yellow magic, they have the blue magic, or the sky blue version, whatever the hell they call it, right? 30 examples on each, classic fusion and tourbillon. You get the complication, you get the look, you get the colors. It's not easy to make a good looking yellow watch.
Right.
The baby blue has been done. Hublot has done a wonderful job with baby blue watches.
Yeah, they've done so many baby blue. Yeah.
There's probably something, like every time we get, what was that one limited edition that we used to get all the time? The blue baby, it was baby blue with white.
It was a baby blue Big Bang, if I'm not mistaken.
But I don't remember if it was limited or not.
No,
Hublot odds are it may have been.
So.
But so the baby blue they got yellow, that's very bold.
Yeah.
You have skeleton, you have the matching markers on the yellow with the matching hands. They didn't do that across the blue one, right? Because the markers in the blue are actually silver or steel, where with the yellow, the movement is actually black, or PVD, I believe in this case. You do have that subtle counter on the left that's done in yellow. They left it out of the blue. They put the yellow elements into the yellow, and I feel it works along with the yellow hands.
The thing I see is the baby blue is very mass market. The yellow is definitely more niche, but like you think about what kind of market they're going after. Like I could see somebody in like a nice yellow Ferrari wearing that yellow Hublot. You know what I'm saying? I think it's like a very niche watch, but I think they have such an opportunity with that.
Why can't it be like a nice yellow Ford F-150?
I mean, if you see one in the wild.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I've ever seen one. Let's go to the next slide. Again, they did, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but they're still sticking with their spirit of Big Bang collection, i.e. their, Frank Mueller, Richard Mille shaped watches. Mm-hmm. Again, they went in, they did the rainbows, they did the usual. There's really nothing new here. Different setting of diamonds, different rainbow combinations, nothing new, nothing that we haven't seen before. And I take my hat off to them to, look, they're in the same boat as Audemars Piguet. Big Bang, everything else is kind of, right? Much like with Audemars Piguet with its Royal Oak, right? So, Spirit of Big Bang is that other line, but history will tell you that going back to when I started, when Frank Mueller was all the craze, one of the most popular brands, most best-selling brands, the minute Frank Mueller made a round watch, it never sold. Richard Mille, same thing. So this is more of the same, but again, there is a genre of people that follow particular brands that are like, let's say in this case of Hublot, that actually like to know shape watches.
Right.
So you have to still cater to that crowd, and again, they probably make a lot less of them.
And what's cool is you still get the strap change system, which is integrated into case, super easy to use. I think the to know shape has become very distinct for Hublot, right? This is very much a Hublot watch, although it looks like an RM.
And when they first came out, they came out with a square one.
The square one was more like a Santos, like like JLC Squadra, like one of those kind of lookalikes. But I think it's been pretty successful for them, and obviously they're going to continue to expand it.
Let's go to the next slide, and that's going to bring us to Tag Heuer. Let's start with the Dado glass box, right?
Sure.
$6,500 watch. And
it's like almost like a Heuer Skipper, if you're familiar with the model. Right. That's what this reminds me of. But it's it's a green Skipper. Yeah, it's just not
green, jumping on the bandwagon. I mean, again, this is all coming from the same group, right? So obviously, that green was developed and it was cut across pretty much every model. Let's go to the next one, and that's going to be the tourbillon version of that watch. $24,000, 65 hours of power reserve on that watch, which is also pretty impressive for that tourbillon. Let's go to the picture of it. I think they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, well balanced, well designed, very symmetrical, great layout, no date. It's a very well executed tourbillon chronograph, and at $24,000, it's a fair price. I think obviously it's actually probably, I would say, on the more affordable side, but I'll say this time and again, there's some brands that just shouldn't be making tourbillons, and Tag Heuer is one of them. You know what I'm saying?
For me, you come out of the gate with a tourbillon that retails for $25,000, it cheapens the whole concept behind the tourbillon. People out there that are purchasing tourbillons, they're purchasing that complication as a flex, as a status symbol. It has been like that for years. The tourbillon was always that status symbol. You see that cage in your watch, worst case scenario, you're probably on average wearing a $100,000 watch plus. Right. You start doing stuff like that, your average buyer that loves tourbillons, that's into that horological flex rather than aesthetical flex, they're not going to go for that. It's because to them it'd be like, I don't want to wear a cheap tourbillon.
Right.
Let's go to the next slide, and that was the Plasma Diamant Avant-Garde with yellow diamonds.
Wow. What a selling point in the name.
And again, I called the worst release of 2023 the other plasma, the Carrera plasma, right? They brought in the use of synthetic diamonds, just as in the case here, because that 1.3 carat diamond is lab grown. Obviously, that keeps the cost down, but does it? The Diamond Avant-Garde is expected to be north of $100,000 and producing very low qualities. What am I getting here for $100,000?
Yeah, it's just like a diamond in the dial with a plasma. It just, other than the diamonds on the dial, there's nothing special about this.
Look, aesthetically, it looks good for $24,000.
I would say like 15.
Okay,
15, 20.
all right. You know
Yeah, but yeah.
what am I getting here for $100,000? Please explain to me.
It doesn't make sense. Obviously, again, lab-grown diamonds drops the cost dramatically. It shouldn't be that expensive. No way, no how.
They're just making lab-grown diamonds like to be this cool, expensive thing.
Right.
It's not.
No.
You know. Anyway, let's go to the next one, and we're gonna go to Bulgari now. Bulgari again, not much from Bulgari. Okay, they did a yellow gold model. Mm-hmm. Now we've spoken about this as early as almost a year ago, where we talked about Adrian, actually the one I called it out first, said we feel like the brands are going to start making the move towards that yellow gold. And of course they did what they do best. Right now Octa Finissimo is their best selling model, so they obviously made an Octa Finissimo with a blue sunburst dial. Yellow blue works well together. Yep. And they also made a steel model with what Bulgari calls Tuscan copper. But
it's a salmon dial.
It's a salmon. It goes back to honey gold and ever-rose gold.
Autumn dial from Patek.
Right. Let's look at the pictures.
It's a salmon dial.
Listen, I have to say, if that's what that dial looks like, it's not your typical salmon dial. I do love that color.
That's very pink, though. That is.
It's like a pinkish, purplish almost, right? And I will say, yellow with that blue dial.
It's knockout.
Listen.
100 times out of 100, it's going to look.
How many times have you said, the perfect canvas, right? And I think the Octa Finissimo.
It's another great blank canvas.
It's another great blank canvas from Genta Design, and it just works. There's nothing. Actually, what I really like is I like the fact that the 12 and the 6 is so prominent within the stick dial. It just works. It just works.
Yeah. No, the whole design works. Love the profile. Love the case, and I love that bracelet.
I love that color. If that copper or something.
Tuscan copper.
Tuscan copper. If that actually is like that in real life, I really do like that dial. Well, let's first sum up the LVMH release week. I think, again, I said it from the beginning, to me, Hublot is a clear winner. Nothing super exciting from, Bulgari, nothing super exciting from Tech Heuer or Zenith for that matter, although you were excited about the gem set.
The gem set meteorite is nice. But I would still say Hublot was by far and away the clear winner.
The MP10. And
the Orlinsky model, I think, was really good.
The Orlinsky was.
And then I would say also the green Big Bang was.
To me, it was the MP10 was the clear winner. Second close out of all of them. Second close is going to be. I'm going to go with the green crystal and then with the Orlinsky.
Yeah, me too.
Let's talk about the fact that a lot of Patek models have been discontinued. Now, there's no official news. Mm-hmm. Nobody picks up the phone or goes on YouTube and says, "Hi, this is Mr. Stern, and this is the models that we're discontinued." They simply disappear off the website. As dealers, what we normally do is we tend to gauge and solidify that with when we get a new price list. So if they're not on the price list, that's 100%. But for now, some models disappear off the website, starting with the Travel Time 5164.
Which is a big shocker. That's like a fan favorite. Aquanaut Travel Time is like the sports watch outside of a Nautilus. If you're going to get if you don't want a Nautilus, you get that 5164A. But that was a pretty big shocker, but they've been making it a long time, so it's not that shocking.
With the new model, are we going to see a 5264, or are we going to see a 6164?
I mean,
because they play with that number sometimes. They play with your emotions. Like, it's going to be a 6164. Is it going to be a 5264?
I mean, I don't know if they re-release it right away. So I think they just discontinue it and leave it as is, because, I mean, you saw this with the 5711, right? 5711. We still don't have another steel model, right? The 5811 is in white.
Because Patek does what Patek does best. They're going to come out with a precious metal. They're going to milk the market out of all the money, and then they'll do the steel.
So they have a 5164R, but they don't have a white gold or a yellow gold, or even they can make another rose gold version.
I would love to see the Aquanaut come back in yellow gold, like the old 5064s.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be a knockout.
Yeah. So I actually don't think they're gonna. if they do discontinue, again, this is just a rumor. I don't know if they come out with a different steel model. I think they come out with another precious metal travel time.
I wouldn't blame it. Or maybe they'll just put rainbow baguettes on it and add a minute repeater.
Maybe just like yellow gold with a blue dot. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Aquanaut Lucci, the jewelry watch, the 5062/450R. That's a watch that's also a very, very hot watch.
But it's not, I mean, it's hot, but it's not the most popular Aquanaut, right? Because high retail, obviously it's
They
a
still
jewelry
trade
piece.
way over list.
Yeah, they do.
We
They
still
do.
have a ton of demand for it, and every time we try to find one, it's not very easy.
Yeah, not
I think
very
the last one we sold was around the $200,000 price range. They're not, and they're only retail around 100. So
Right.
they're not easy to get. They make so few of them. So again, I'm not. Who are we to tell Patek what to do, right?
Yep.
5980 is the bigger shocker. And what do you think we're going to see here? They discontinued the rose.
If they discontinue the rose gold, that will be, that'll be pretty shocking. It's going to be a big change because now pretty much all the 5980s are discontinued, right? The steel, the only one left will be the two-tone.
No, that's discontinued as well.
Oh, the
that was
two-tone?
part of that was part of the list as
two-tone
well.
is also part of the list. Okay, so I didn't know that.
So they're basically supposedly scrapping all the 5980s.
So yeah, there's no more 5980 left. I assume they would come out with one in yellow gold.
But here's where the numbers don't work.
It wouldn't make
because
sense.
Is it now a 6080? Is it?
No, it would just
is
become
it now
a 51.
a 6980?
It would just become a 5980/1J if it's yellow gold.
But yellow gold, I would love to see.
yellow
you know what I
gold,
would love
blue
to see?
dial,
I would love to see. No, I would love to see the yellow gold, yellow dial, champagne dial.
No.
Ooh, that would just be. Oh, I've been
Those-
wanting that. I wanted that in rose gold. I wanted it in just. I've been wanting that for
It's a
quite
pretty
some
big
time.
shocker because I think the 5980 in rose gold is probably, I mean, it's up there. Besides, really, since we saw the release of the 5990, was the most popular gold Nautilus model on the market, right? I would say.
You're not wrong. I
Yeah.
will tell you this. The next ones, I say good riddance, 5712R and 5712G
they
on the
produce
strap.
those too long, just
They
too long.
way too long. They were never popular. The only
Yep.
reason they've gone up in pricing is because of
The steel and
because
gold
of the
models
steel
going
and the
up.
gold
Yeah.
models going up in
Yep.
value. And when they came out with the 5712 rose gold on a bracelet, I said, "Hallelujah! Finally, thank you." I would imagine they would just continue those right away, but they didn't. Finally, they saying that they will. Again, this is all rumors, so they say. I'd love to see a 5712G on a bracelet. Would love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the natural next step. I think they're going to do away with most sports watches on
straps?
on a strap. Yeah, they're going to go to all bracelets.
And you know
I think,
what?
now at
And you
this
know
point.
what? I'm happy about that. The next.
Because it just doesn't make sense, right? Like 5726 on a strap, 5711, even like the yellow gold one on a strap. Who really asked for that?
That was like the ugliest watch they've ever made.
So I think they just go away from all the strap.
I mean, I remember
strap
back in the day
Nautilus
when they
models.
came out with them, nobody wanted. You couldn't give them away.
Yeah, no.
Now the next couple, your 5160 Perpetual Calendar G. It's an engraved retrograde. I think that went away because I don't think that was selling well because the retail price is extremely high
It's
on
just
it.
always been a dog. It just has never
All these-
sold really
and I
well.
never understood that. I would think that it would be the opposite with the engraved model. There would be the collectibles, but they never really took off.
too expensive.
Its predecessors never took off. You can find some of their predecessors online fairly cheap today.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody seems to want it because again they're too expensive. Just the engraving part adds on just too much money.
Yep.
And then the 5396G and the 5396R. I don't know what the point of discontinuing that annual calendar unless you give me something that's nicer.
They've been
or you try
around-
to cut them down the line.
Like those have been around for a long time, right? So they've kind of been replaced now with the 5205, right? GR, they released the rose gold green dial, the white gold blue dial. So I don't know if you need those competing against each other. 5396 has had its time to shine. Now it's good for it to be discontinued, I think.
Thoughts on the 5230p World
This
Time?
was a big shocker to me because they didn't release it that long ago, right? It's only been out for like maybe 3-4
I was
years.
going to say 4 years.
Yeah, around that time frame. So it's actually a pretty big shock to me, but it was never the most popular model. To me, what I would really like to see again, I mean, we got a 5231G, but probably my favorite world time was, I can't remember the reference, but it had a moon phase. It was done for the 175th anniversary for the brand.
Yes.
God, it had that twisted lug case, just absolutely beautiful watch. And I
I love
wish,
how you close your eyes when
like,
you
it's
get
just like I'm
excited.
just picturing it, right? And just don't pan down right now. No, just kidding. No, but I wish they go back to that twisted lug case. You don't even have to include a moon phase, but I just love that watch. And 5230p was a big shot.
I'm just going to say it. I've always said it before. I feel like the World Time is one of the, for some odd reason, is the most underappreciated complication.
Yeah.
the least the last complications people go for. They're just not willing to pay the money for that complication. Which, in reality, if you think in today's day and age of modern technology, it's got to be the most useful complication.
Yeah, for sure.
I just don't get
over a chronograph, over a perpetual calendar.
Exactly. I just don't.
How many
get
times are perpetual calendars set in the wild? Almost never.
Pretty much at this point, you know. And then they get rid of the Zenith. I mean, the pilot watch, the travel time in 37.5 millimeter in both rose gold,
so
white
I heard
gold,
they're discontinuing
as well as 70.
both. They're going to discontinue both the pilots in 37.5 and the 40. So the 5524 and the G and the R and the 7234. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Again, that's another model, doesn't really sell well. It's a bit weird in Patek's model range, right? You look at a kind of, it's a travel time competing with the 5164, but in a dressier format.
But it's not really a dressier format. It's more of a rugged, I was going to say.
It's like a field watch?
No, to me, it's a military style watch.
Yeah.
You know, if you think of Patek, can you think of a military style watch?
Not really. Only officers' watches, right? Which are long discontinued.
But those are long discontinued. They didn't really have the same rugged look anyway. But if you're talking about pilot's watch, this was Patek's shot at creating military style watches, which was a flop because the general Patek collector was like, this looks like a Zenith.
Right. This will be like probably in the cult classic kind of collector series for Patek Philippe.
I guarantee you, because they didn't make that many of them, because they didn't make them for a very, very long time.
No, they did. They made a lot of them for a very long time.
How long has it been?
Oh, they've been making them probably at least a decade.
No.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe
you know what the problem is?
Maybe not 10 years, but a solid 7 years.
You know what the
problem?
Sure. You know what the problem is that when you get to be my age, you think 1999 was a couple of years ago, right? You know, I equate, after 45, I equate life to a roll of toilet paper. So, the less toilet paper there is, the faster the roll rolls. That's why I'm thinking this was just a couple of years ago. So, guys, this is sort of a quick run through of what has been discontinued.
Or what's a rumor.
What's a rumor to be discontinued, right? It's not on their website. Odds are it's going to be discontinued. Yep. Anybody that tells you they know 100%, they're lying to you because they don't release that type of information. The only time I would be able to tell you that's indeed these working is when we get the new updated price list from Patek Philippe.
It's going to be Watches and Wonders or some kind of big event where Patek Philippe is going to announce everything discontinued, what's the new models, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. And we're going to leave you with this next topic, and this is going to be the last topic, which to me was probably the biggest shocker of the week. Let's pull the watch out. Now, what you have here is 150 years.
Yeah, it's 150th anniversary celebrating Piaget. For their 150th anniversary, they re-released originally in 1979, kind of as a competitor to the Nautilus, the Royal Oak, the VC222, and it's the Piaget.
They literally took the same watch they made in the 80s and made the same exact watch.
Well, they modified it
They modified the insides of it, but aesthetically, from the outside, from the dial to the case, the way the dial is sort of integrating as this part of the case, it's the same way it was.
The case size is a little bit bigger. Before it used to be quartz, and I think they did it like 34 and 37 millimeter model.
I'm gonna throw some words out there that come to mind. Like we're gonna play this game. I'm gonna throw some. I look at this watch. I'm gonna throw words out that come to my mind. Ready? Disco.
Yes. Very 80s.
Tony Montana.
Yes, absolutely.
Cocaine.
You got the stuff, man. You got the stuff. Yeah.
Cocaine. Yeah. Right. I mean, I'm literally thinking back to those days.
Yep.
Back in the 80s, if you had one of these Piaget poles, granted back then they were small. This is what now? This is
38.
If you had one of those on your wrist, you had an open collar silk shirt, you had at least 3 or 4 gold chains, and a hairy chest. Nice. I mean, this is the epitome of disco era watches. And what's the price on it?
80,000 euros.
And that's what f***ed me up entirely. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
For what? I can get you a vintage version of that under 10.
Yeah, it's a crazy, crazy price. I mean, Piaget has been picking up a lot of steam. Their stone dials, even these older polos, but nowhere near to charge $80,000 for this. Now, again, I understand, probably not easy.
Is this limited?
Not limited. Serially produced. Not easy to make this.
How about the fact that it has an ETA movement?
Yeah, so that's the biggest shocker, right? Not a single watchmaker beveled any bridges in that movement, and it uses an ETA escapement, which is it's laughable for an $80,000 watch. I think this is like Piaget was moving in a great direction, and now they kind of just bombed what could have been a great release. Because $80,000, think about its competitor, right? Is it should it be worth more than a 5811?
Should it be worth more than a Royal Oak Chrono?
Should it be worth more than a VC222? This is a time-only watch. Doesn't have a day window, right? VC222, do you want to go down to Royal Oak chronographs? Do you want to go down to even 15202 in white gold, the BC or even the Sunburst.
Oh, you
gold,
don't have
the
to
BA.
convince. You don't have to
Like
convince me.
it's crazy expensive for an unfinished movement, for a barely finished movement, and that uses an ETA scheme. I think this is a terrible release now that I think about it.
What I do for 150th anniversary is
Stone dials.
I do stone dials.
Yeah,
I do.
I would do this, but just a lot more affordable.
I do. Anyway, you don't do that.
Yeah, just it's the price. The watch is spectacular. It looks great, but it's just the price at 80,000 euros is completely unjustified.
Oh, euros. It's not dollars.
Yeah, it's euros. 80,000 euros. Yeah, it's completely unjustified. I just think it spoiled the whole release.
You know what this reminds me of? Maybe Ian can pull up a clip of this. Remember that scene in Hangover where they're in the middle of like some dusty parking lot and they have to call home and say,
"We f***ed up."
Well, whoever designed this, whoever made the call on this, he needs to make that phone call, because this is, again, and what really sucks too is that they had such a good shot at recreating a classic, because this watch is a classic.
Right.
Pricing it within a normal price range,
like
sort
30,
of
35,000.
Not even. Mid to high 20s.
Right.
Give me a skeleton. If you're trying to flex, this is your 150th anniversary. You slap an ATA movement in there, make it a serially produced, and you're charging me 80,000 euros? No. Yeah. I'm sorry. Make your own movement. Put your own movement in there. Do something.
Yeah.
Or decorate the movement.
It's a Piaget movement. It's just the escapement base is an ETA escape. Yeah. Like that's what I just don't get it.
So you would think that this episode, the shocker would be the Pateks that are being discontinued. Yeah. It is not. It is Piaget 150th anniversary, not limited edition, 80,000 euro watch. So.
But the good thing is now we're in rumor season, right? Now it's the time where we hear what Rolexes are getting discontinued, what Patek Philippe's, what APs, and you're going to see a lot of upcoming releases which are going to be really, really exciting. I think it all starts pretty much in April, right? Obviously, we're still in February, a ways away, but now's the time period where things are starting to pick up. There's a lot to look forward to, and hopefully no more overpriced Piagets.
Well, then it's a good thing that me and you do this thing we call Watch News Weekly to keep you guys informed as much as we can, give you our opinion. So with that said, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts. We want your feedback on this stuff. I want to know if you guys are just as shocked about this Piaget as both me and Marco were, and we'll see you next week.